ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
Investigators are trying to piece together exactly what happened after several people were shot at an office complex in rural Texas this afternoon. At least one person was killed, and this comes less than 24 hours after another mass shooting in South Carolina. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Kimberly Hunt. ABC's Rena Roy has an update on both of the shootings.
A massive police presence at this cabinet company office complex in Bryan, Texas, after reports of an active shooter.
So far, we have one shot in arm, one shot in back.
The call of shots fired coming in around 2:30 p.m. local time. Multiple victims rushed to area hospitals.
It was real loud, and it was like I was living a horror movie. You know, you see everything all the time in the movies, and it was happening to us today.
When officers arrived, the shooter was gone. Authorities believe he was an employee there. Police tracking him down shortly after and taking him into custody. Officials say a state trooper was shot while apprehending him. Multiple agencies now investigating the incident.
We've got four down inside the house.
And less than 24 hours before, in the quiet town of Rock Hill, South Carolina, prominent local doctor Robert Leslie, his wife, and two grandchildren gunned down in their home. Outside, a 38-year-old man who was working on the property also killed, and a co-worker seriously injured. Authorities say former NFL player Philip Adams was responsible, and after an hours-long standoff, police found him dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. According to reports, Adam may have at one time been a patient of Dr. Leslie. Adam's father, Alonzo, telling local station WCNC his son never bothered anybody.
He was a good kid, and I think the football messed him up.
There's nothing about this right now that makes sense to any of us.
Authorities still searching for a motive in both mass shootings. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
They've offered plenty of thoughts and prayers, members of Congress, but they've passed not a single new federal law to reduce gun violence. Enough prayers. Time for some action.
President Biden announced major changes to gun laws today. The proposal came after several mass shootings over the past month. ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer De La Cruz shows us how San Diegans are reacting on both sides of the issue.
The Biden administration releasing a range of executive orders aimed at tackling gun violence on Thursday. The changes include tightening restrictions on ghost guns, requiring a federal license for pistol stabilizing braces, and expanding red flag laws. The so-called ghost guns are homemade from parts, which is legal. They currently don't require background checks or serial numbers. Michael Schwartz with the San Diego County gun owner says mandating those things will not fix the problem.
People have used firearms that didn't belong to them to commit crimes. So even if it's registered to somebody, that doesn't necessarily solve a case.
Biden's plan also addresses pistol stabilizing braces, like the one used when a shooter killed 10 people at a Colorado grocery store last month.
That the brace doesn't make it more lethal. That's not going to stop. It's not going to violent crime. It's not going to prevent criminals from doing criminal activities. But instead, it's really just going to continue to regulate sane, trained, law-abiding gun owners.
Roseanne Sharp with Never Again California disagrees.
And I'm old enough to remember when the manufacturers of cars bought seatbelts. We need to have protection against the stabilizers and the things that turn ordinary pistols into weapons of mass destruction.
Sharp says all the executive orders are a step in the right direction.
Every item that he ticked off in his list was one that will protect people against gun violence in the same way that we have sought protection against COVID-19.
The plan also calls for expansion of red flag laws. City Attorney Mara Elliott has spearheaded that effort in San Diego, removing guns from people who pose a threat to themselves or others. Since 2017, they've seized more than 600 guns, including 50 assault weapons. Jennifer De La Cruz, ABC 10 News.
Witness testimony continued today at the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. A pulmonologist gave impactful expert testimony on how George Floyd died. Dr. Martin Tobin analyzed the same images many have seen from May 25th of last year. He poked a major hole in the defense's argument that Floyd died due to pre-existing medical conditions and the presence of drugs in his system.
If it was with fentanyl, you'd be expecting a respiratory rate of 10. Instead of that, you count it here yourself. And you can see when you count it yourself that the respiratory rate is 22. So basically it tells you there isn't fentanyl on board. that is affecting his respiratory centers.
He added the very high level of carbon dioxide in Floyd's body was the result of the time between his last breath and when paramedics started ventilation. Testimony in this trial continues tomorrow.
As your mayor, I ask you to come forward, not just to protect yourself and your family, but to protect our overall community.
Standing up against hate. City leaders came together to address the increase in violent incidents toward the Asian Pacific Islander community. As ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano shows us, the city is taking a proactive approach to combat hate crimes.
Their message was simple: there's no place for hate in the city of San Diego. You've seen the horrific images of Asian American and Pacific Islanders across the country, getting harassed, hurt, even killed. Thursday afternoon, San Diego leaders held a public safety symposium at the predominantly Asian Convoy District, addressing the increase in AAPI hate incidents.
Our Asian Pacific Islander community is hurting because whether we like it or not, it's happening. And what we recognize is that too much of it goes unreported.
A hate crime is a crime done with a bias against a race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or disability. District Attorney Summer Steffen says a hate incident, although not a crime, can be just as hurtful.
It may be hateful, hurtful, disgusting, but it's something that doesn't amount to a crime, is protected under the First Amendment right.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, the Stop AAPI Hate Reporting Center tallied nearly 3,800 hate incidents across the U.S. Locally, Steffen's office has prosecuted 3 felony Asian-targeted hate crimes and received 120 tips on its tip line.
Although we aren't seeing a lot of incidents, my concern is they're not being reported. So my goal today is to make certain that everybody here is comfortable coming forward.
In response, SDPD officers started doing safety walks in predominantly AAPI communities, including Little Saigon, Mid-City, and Convoy District. The goal, they say, is to prevent the hate incidents from ever becoming hate crimes.
No matter how big or small, we want to know.
Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
Next week, officers will be doing community walks in Linda Vista and Mira Mesa. For the police department's personal safety tips, head to our website, 10news.com. And now to the coronavirus. For the first time in more than a year, you're about to be able to go out on rides at SeaWorld. Today, we were there as crews tested them out. The rides will be open starting on Monday. Until then, they've been open under the guidelines for zoos and aquariums. And because we're now in the orange tier, SeaWorld decided the time is right to open a full theme park. The park president tells us that means they'll need to hire more workers.
I don't think we're going to take a big step back. I'm very optimistic this will keep getting better by June. So I see us hiring a lot of people.
And while in the orange tier, SeaWorld can operate with 25% capacity of guests.
San Diego County reported 300 new cases today, while our test positivity rate held steady at 2%. Another 4 San Diegans, though, died from this coronavirus, bringing our total to just under 3,600. The vaccination superstation at the Del Mar Fairgrounds will be closed for the next 3 days. Lower than expected vaccine deliveries forced the site to close yesterday as well. Patients with appointments on the days canceled should be automatically rescheduled through the My Turn online system.
I was just devastated because, to me it was like the end of bowling. There was no more bowling in the city.
Bowling is back in San Diego, and tonight Mira Mesa lanes reopened after nearly closing for good during the pandemic. ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is there, where many bowlers say that they're thrilled to return to the lanes.
There is a sense of excitement and relief from bowlers in there, saying not too long ago they were worried about whether their community would still have a place to bowl. It's the sound that brings so much joy to so many here.
It's just nice to be able to throw balls again and hit some pins.
David Hilbish spent Thursday night bowling. On the first night, Mira Mesa lanes reopened.
They are beyond excited in there.
Drew Parkin co-owns the bowling alley. He and his wife bought it at the last minute as it faced permanent closure in the midst of the pandemic.
We just kept seeing all their posts on social media of how sad it was that they're not going to have bowling anymore in their area.
After hearing that other area bowling alleys were closing for good, Parkin says he and his wife were determined to keep these lanes open.
My wife's a professional bowler. She does clinics here all the time, and we're like, we need to save that center.
They took over Mira Mesa lanes April 1st. They didn't think they would be able to reopen so quickly.
All of a sudden it was, all right, San Diego's in the orange. And the amount of excitement and nerves at the same time. We had about 4 or 5 days to go in, try to clean, paint, and do as much as we could to get it ready for the bowlers.
Bowling alleys are allowed to reopen at 25% capacity in the orange tier. There were 39 teams signed on to play for Thursday's reopening, fewer than 200 people. Parkin says they can normally accommodate more than 800. Spectators are not yet allowed, and everyone has to wear a mask while they bowl.
It's a little annoying, but you kind of get used to it. It makes your face really hot. Hopefully we won't have to wear them for very much longer.
Hilbish says the bowling alley he normally goes to closed, so he's thrilled that this one is open.
A lot of our friendships, my long-term friendships, have come from bowling, so it's good to see everyone again.
Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
Tonight, Mira Mesa Lanes was open for league bowling. Open play for the public is expected to start next week.